California actually has legalized child marriage. Seriously.
Now, actually, go ahead and tell them a little bit about that. It's not that it's legalized child marriage. It was already legal. And
they're trying to make it illegal.
They're trying to make it illegal in many states in the United States. It's already on the books, legal. There's actually no minimum age at which a parent can give consent for marriage to happen between an adult and a child. What is unfortunate about that is there were some numbers that Leo was reading off to me the other day, and one of them was a 68-year-old man that had married a 14-year-old girl. One
was 74, and so a lot of these are slipping through.
Now, one is too many, and there were how many?
Several.
Hundreds of these cases where you have not only, like, it's not like you have a 24-year-old marrying a 17-year-old. That is not what's happening.
90% are female that are underage. These aren't, you know, your Kentucky lovebirds who get pregnant at like 15.
That is not what's happening.
90% are underage girls who, if they weren't married to the men, then it would be statutory rape.
Exactly.
And several of them were in their 40s. Some in 50s, some in their 60s, and then like one in their 70s. So what judge pushed that through? Pedophiles. Which, interestingly enough, is that I think it's Senator Jerry Hill who's trying to make it illegal to marry for an adult to marry a minor in the state of California. But I'm going to tell you who is against this. This is a Democrat putting this forward, so it's bipartisan. However, the ACLU and Planned Parenthood have decided that this is not in a young girl's interest, that she needs to be able to hold the power to make a choice to be married. How
many of you think that when, I think there was an 8-year-old?
Some of them were 10 and 11 years old.
How many of you think that these 10 and 11-year-olds are making a choice? Anybody that wants to empower women, fine, okay? Children don't need power regardless of their gender. That's the point. They're children. We all paid our dues.
So some of these people who are against this is a no-brainer law to me. This is a bipartisan law.
But the fact that the ACLU isn't taking up this cause, they can't. Why? Because they're going to be coming out as pro-Muslim and pro-pedophilia.
There are story after story, like this person, she was 15 years old. Sarah Tassim's father ordered her to marry a 28-year-old man.
How is that empowering her?
Right. The judges didn't even ask her whether she even wanted to. And so no, these people are getting to the track. The one woman, this woman Nicole, she's 29 now. She was 16 when she married a 24-year-old man. But she actually, it was an abusive relationship. She says her guardian sanctioned what became an abusive relationship. Her grandparents were willing to ignore every bruise. As for her husband, I think that for him, he thought it was a way to protect himself from statutory rape charges. She was widowed at 18. So no, I don't believe that there's ever a case. If you can't vote, then you can't get married.
Right.
All right? If you can't get an apartment, then you can't get married. This is a big deal. You have to, and we have minimum ages for a reason.
Right.
And I know a lot of perverts like to stick to that whole age thing. Oh, they were 18 or they were 17 and a half, and it's a big thing. We have minimum ages to keep criminals from abusing people. And it's mostly girls who are being abused by men. And manipulated and
so how the feminists wrap their brains,
they are sickos.
Most of them know exactly what they're doing, but unfortunately it trickles down to the everyday feminist who just follows like a herd of sheep, like I said earlier. They don't know, and so they go along with it, and it's like, I'm thinking to myself, do you really have zero critical thinking in your brain?
What's interesting is between 2000 and 2010, 167,000 minors were married in 38 states. 167,000. In California, you have to be 20 years old to drink, 18 to vote, 16 to get a driver's license, 14 to work. But when it comes to making the biggest decision of your life, technically you could be in grade school. Perhaps it's not surprising that California's marriage rate for minors exceeds the national average. Pew Research Center reports the national rate is 4.6 for every 1,000 15 to 17-year-olds. California's is 5.5. Current legal safeguards are close to worthless. If you're a minor, you need a court order and parental consent. But if you are like most minors, in reality, you are under the rule of at least one parent. As a minor, you don't have the same power as an adult. You can be coerced and you can be forced. Here's the thing. There is no reason under heaven that someone under 18 can't wait until they're 18 to get married. Now, interestingly enough, the pro-life group in one of these states was against it as well, because they were thinking, you know, some teenage girls who get pregnant might not have the baby. See, this is where I am not in lockstep with the pro-life groups.
And that's what you guys should really, and I say this a lot, but I have no problem repeating myself. What you're going to get here at Resistance Chicks is you're going to get that we lean a lot with certain things or with certain people or whatever, but we don't follow blindly, and we have no problem or qualms calling out things. I love the pro-life movement, but I know exactly what Leah's getting at here. Just because you're afraid of a young lady murdering a child doesn't mean that she should be she should be making a decision, a life-changing decision.
As my mom says it, you're literally condoning and legalizing rape. If you condone a 16 and 17-year-old marrying a 24 or 25-year-old, where they are going to be raped every day, statutory rape. And so we have laws set in place for a reason. I know laws of consent in some places are 16, but marriage should all be at 18. If you can't vote, then you can't get married.
Right.
You know, if you can't get an apartment, then no, you can't get married. If you can't join the military, then no, you can't get married. You wait. Okay, we have minimum ages for a reason, because people be coerced. This is minimum age. You have to wait. This is what we do to protect people. Some people are going to fall through the cracks. You're going to have a Romeo and Juliet. Wait till you're 18. Just do it. If a baby's born out of wedlock, oh well. Oh well. You know, things happen. Okay? I mean, seriously. Things happen. You don't condone statutory rape. You don't perpetuate
what we have is lawmakers in 11 states are proposing measures to raise the minimum age. And so far, 4 bills have succeeded. I'm excited about that, but it needs to be more.
In June, Connecticut banned marriage before 16. New York raised its minimum age from 14 to 17. And Texas set new rules that limit marriage to minors who have been emancipated, meaning a court has granted them the same rights as an adult. They could rent an apartment.
Right. Like that. And you know what? I actually kind of like that. I like this rule where if somebody's going to pull out a specific case and analyze that and say, you know what? Because our guy that delivers our hay, he's like a 50-year-old guy walking around in a 26-year-old body. I mean, he runs and he's got loans for, you know, he's running his hay farm, and he is absolutely amazing for a young man. So there are exceptions to every rule.
But here's the thing. There's no reason a minor ever has to get married. Never. Never, ever, ever. If they are in such dire straits that they need to get married, then we need to step in and help this child. Bring them into our homes or something.
Right.
You know,
and I would take it a step further. A lot of people say, well, okay, and then I'm going to lose a bunch of you here, but this is Michelle's view, and you can take it for whatever it's worth. Let's say a young lady gets pregnant out of wedlock, and everybody says, well, you know what? They should just marry rather than have them to continue to live in sin. This happens to Michelle's child, and she doesn't have any yet, but if it does happen to my child, and it won't, but if it did, my 17-year-old or 16-year-old comes home pregnant, okay? Even if Michelle agrees that that young man should continue to be her husband or whatever, my child is going to stay locked up at home until she turns 18, okay? Then she can make her own decisions, okay? She's not going to be sleeping with that fella anymore because he hasn't earned that. She hasn't earned that. As a wily teenager, okay, who has already had something similar happen. I still have my virginity. Lee and I wear these promise rings. We didn't cover that earlier. I'm really proud of it. But I had some sketchy years. And you know what? My mama did that, and I'm better for it, okay? I was clueless as a young teenager, okay? So sometimes parents have to step in, and that's why they're parents, and they help make decisions for children that cannot, all right? So I don't care. They're literally, because I know a lot of people are standing there thinking, well, but if she gets pregnant, then they should marry. Nah, that's not the way that works, okay? If you steal from the candy store, you don't get to go and own the candy store, okay? No, you got to pay it back.
It's like we talk about Muslims and we talk about Islam, we talk about coerced marriages all the time.
Right.
But we can't put a law in the books that says you can't get married before you're 18.
Right.
Are you kidding me? And it's the ACLU, it's some libertarian groups, it's some feminist groups, but then you have some feminist groups who are, fighting. It's just, like I said before, 200,000 minors were married in the United States between 2000 and 2015. I wanted to give you some of these horrible statistics.
Oh, they're awful. They're so bad.
Some of these children were 10, 11, and 12 given marriage licenses in Alaska, Louisiana, South Carolina, and Tennessee. The majority of minors married adults who are 18, 19, or in their early 20s. I'm not squeamish over a 17-year-old marrying an 18-year-old. I'm not squeamish over a 16-year-old marrying an 18-year-old. I'm not squeamish over that stuff. But seriously, yet several hundred minors were legally permitted to marry adults in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. Around half of all states do not set a minimum marriage age according to the law of justice. In other states, minors have to be different ages. It says in 32 states, judges who approve marriages are generalists who typically come from probate, district, or circuit courts. They have no idea. They have no way to recognize when somebody's being coerced. I was really disappointed in Governor Chris Christie. He actually vetoed a bill. He is just not a good dude. He refused to sign the proposed law. That I think it would have allowed. I think the minimum age was, 16 or 17. He didn't want to sign it. It boggles my mind that he wouldn't. Our concern is with 16 to 17-year-olds who become pregnant and wants to marry the father, blah, blah, blah. Defeats in New Hampshire and Maryland. I mean, I just think these are pedophiles. Girls as young as 13 and boys as young as 14, which is interesting. The boys have to be 1 year older. What is this?
What is that?
Right. So I meant to cover this.
All of these people, unfortunately, are these science-loving, you have to worship science, science is God type atheistic people. Well, where's your science when you're looking at the development of a child's brain? It is scientific that a child's brain doesn't develop. I think a young man's brain doesn't finish developing until they're 26. Okay, I think for girls, obviously, it's a little bit younger, but still, if your brain is still developing and you can't that's why kids aren't allowed to vote. That's why they're not allowed to drink. That's why they're not allowed to get an apartment and make responsible decisions and stuff like that, because their brains aren't fully developed. So why would we allow a child to do something that could be harmful to themselves?
3,100 minors were married between 2000 and 2014 in Maryland, and at least 69 of those marriages involved pregnant teens marrying partners who had committed statutory rape. So here's the thing. You want to marry the person, they go to prison for a little bit, and then you get married later, once you're 18. And you can think things through if you really want to be married to that person.
Right.
That's why we have these, American women who marry before the age of 18 are more likely to face psychiatric disorders like clinical depression. I mean, it just, the abuse happens to some of these girls. They're pushed into these things. It boggles my mind that people don't understand. More than 40,000 Texans were married before 18, before 2000, 2014. Some of these, there was another one, the child marriage by the numbers, and this one I wanted to bring up too.
Aaron says that the frontal lobe, the center of the brain that allows one the ability to understand the consequences of their actions, is fully formed by 21.
So there you go. It would be great if you waited until 21, but the minimum age is 18. Obviously, less are being married now than in 2000. 87% or 90% are girls, 13% are boys. How old were the minors who married? There were some who were under 15. Most are 17. I kind of get it, but I still think, you know, it should just 18. Just leave it there.
But here's the thing. You're looking at these percentages, right?
Right.
And they look really small. When you have 1%, okay? Now, what was the number to start with again?
About 200,000.
Okay, now, is anybody here better at math than me? What's 1% of 200,000? I think that's 200. No. Correct? So we've got 200 cases.
2,000?
No. Okay, poor math here. That's even worse. 2,000 of these cases were with children that were under 15 years old.
So the youngest children were married were to be 3 10-year-old girls in Tennessee in 2001 who were married to a 24-year-old, a 25-year-old, and a 31-year-old. The youngest groom, now this is really creepy. Who allows this? Was an 11-year-old boy in Tennessee who married a 27-year-old woman in 2006. Children as young as 12 were granted marriages license in Alaska, Louisiana, South Carolina, and Tennessee.
Wow.
And 13-year-olds were given the green light in Alabama, Florida, Idaho, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New Mexico, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, and Washington. 3 of the children were 10. 2 children were 11. 10 children were 12. 51 children were 13, and 985 were 14.
But like I said earlier, 1 is too many.
So, but here's the thing. Minors who married minors was 14%. Minors who married adults was 86%. And who were the adults who married them? So 60% were 18 to 20. 25% were 21 to 23. 9% were 24 to 26. 3% were 27 to 29, and some of them were actually over 29. Now, here's the thing. The oldest, 368, were married to adults and their men in their 40s. 61 were married to adults in their 50s.
Now, remember, we're talking about minors here. Minor means under 17. So why is it that you have 368 of them in their 40s? Marrying these people, these children that are 17 or younger.
Why do you have 31 who were 60 and over? In 2010, a 17-year-old girl married a 65-year-old man. One of the oldest people to marry was a 74-year-old Alabama man who married a 14-year-old.
Oh my
gosh. These numbers are out of control. It's just out of control. These judges are out of control. It's legalized rape, statutory rape of these young people. Like I said, I don't believe people should be married at 18, but we set a minimum.
Right.
So that you get your mind straight. That's the minimum.
I think we all have friends. I know I at least have 2 or 3 couples that I've known. I wouldn't say friends, but that I've known in my lifetime who got married when, you know, she was 17 and he was 21 or something like that, and they're married 40 years later and they were high school sweethearts and they're fine and it's great and awesome. Good for you, okay? It can happen, but I don't know any that got married at 17 or younger to say anybody over the age of 30 and has that same story to tell.
It's weird. It's weird.
It's very weird.
It's weird. It's weird. It's weird.
So the point is there's legislation. There's states that are trying to get legislation passed to actually create a minimum age for marriage. And we have people trying to block that and that are currently blocking it.
Here's the thing. We have laws. Okay, as libertarians, we don't like a lot of laws.
Right.
Laws are set up to protect people and protect their property.
Yes.
Okay, your property is your physical being.
Yes.
So we set a minimum age. Okay? And we say 18 is the age.
Yeah.
And that's it. And you're not allowed to go before or after that. I mean, here's the thing. There are things that can wait. There are things that can wait.
Right.
And this is one of those things that can wait. And that's it. And we're just
going to sign off there.
I mean, sir, I know a couple. She lied. She has lied about her age. She is almost 90 years old. She lied that she was 1 year older. Sometimes she doesn't know how old she is. She lied so she could get married early. to somebody who was like 8 years older.
I know this person.
Joe.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, they're awesome. They're great.
I was cold.